Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Frilin Alfi Lorenza. I'm English department student of Kanjuruhan University. Today I will present about my thesis proposal seminar. The title is Improving Vocabulary Mastery for Students with Special Needs by Using Flashcard. Before I start this proposal seminar, I thank to Ma'am Umiati Jawas PhD as my advisor 1 and Ma'am Riza Veganova MPD as my advisor 2. Language is one of the important part to communicate. According to Charles 1999, that say that language is a symbol used by humans to communicate. In communicating, people usually use their mother tongue to speak a lot, but it's not ruling out that people who has a second language or foreign language to implement it when they communicate. We know that English is an international language of the world, the language who using by everyone in this world to communicate each other. In Indonesia, English is a foreign language which is introduced as a subject at school. Based on arrangement of language to communicate, it's important to learn vocabulary. In this research, the aim is to improving vocabulary mastery for students with special needs by using flashcards. And there are 5 previous studies that researchers learned before. First, journal by Komachali and Kodareza, 2014, entitled The Effect of Using Flashcards on Iranian Pre-University Students' Vocabulary Knowledge. The aim of this research is to investigate the effect of using vocabulary flashcard on Iranian pre-university students' vocabulary knowledge. The participants of this study consisted 50 students and divided into 2 groups. The control group received the traditional treatment, while the experimental group received the vocabulary flashcard treatment. The results show that student in experimental group is outperformed than student in control group. The second study conducted by Ririn Fatmawati, 2016, entitled The Effect of Using Flashcards on Student Vocabulary Mastery. This study conducted to solve the problem of the student of Mi Babul Ulum Doro Gede Gedangan, Sukodadi Lamongan, which is very low. The researcher did a research in 6 meetings for months. For 2 meetings to do the pre-test and post-test, and 4 meetings to do the activity learning with a strategies. In doing this research, the experimental class was given several treatments, while the control group got the lesson as usual. Based on the result of statistic test, the experimental class got a higher score than a control group. The conclusion is the student who taught by flashcard was better than the student who didn't use it. Third, the researcher conducted by Elsa Yusrika Sitompul, 2013, entitled Teaching Vocabulary Using Flashcard and Word List. The study investigates teaching vocabulary using flashcard and word list as a strategies in the experimental and control group. The student in experimental group could memorize the word and vocabulary easily and more motivated to learn English vocabulary. Fourth, the research entitled Comparing Vocabulary Learning of EFL Learners by Using 2 Different Strategies, Mobile Learner versus Flashcard by Mosahib and Azab Daftari, 2012. These studies show that not only can mobile phone be used for communicating in the year 2012, but they can also be used as effective device for language learning. The findings show that the use of mobile phone for language and vocabulary learning more better than use of flashcard. It's a better strategy than flashcard. Fifth, the research entitled Improving Student Vocabulary Mastery Using Flashcard by Setyo Nugroho 2012. Based on pre-research, the 4th grade student of SD Negeri 2 Watu Agung had problem in vocabulary mastery. It could be shown from their vocabulary score was low. To solving the problem, the research used classroom action research. And in collecting the data, the research used qualitative and quantitative methods. From the result, it can be concluded that teaching English vocabulary using flashcard as media does improve the student vocabulary mastery. In contrast to the previous study, the researcher in this study used the student with special need as a subject. And for the design, it's different with previous study because almost of the researchers in the previous study using experimental design, and here the researcher used classroom action research as a design. For the statement of the problem, the researcher formulated a research question: how can flashcard improve the vocabulary mastery of students with special needs? The objective of the researcher is study purpose to help the student with special needs to improve their vocabulary mastery by using flashcard for Pelita Kasih Homeschooling Malang. Limitation of study. This study will focus on improving vocabulary mastery in English lesson by using flashcard, and the researcher choose flashcard because it's so fun for memorizing and can stimulate students' memory through pictures. It will give them more opportunity to memorize vocabulary easily in the class, and the study is conducted by focusing on improving vocabulary mastery of students with special needs of Pelita Kasih Homeschooling Malang. Scope and delimitation of study. To focus this research, the researcher limits the scope of this research as follows. 1. The research focus on the improving student vocabulary mastery by using flashcard. 2. The research focus on the student with special needs in autism group. The significance of the study. The significance of the study will be useful for teacher, researcher, and the student. For the teacher, the result of this research is expected to provide them with an interesting technique to teach vocabulary. It's also expected to motivate the teacher to be more creative. For the researcher, the result of this research can develop her knowledge about teaching vocabulary for children with special needs. Last, for the students, the result of this research is expected to give them new experience in English learning, especially in learning vocabulary, so they can be easier to memorize the vocabulary and get a lot of new vocabulary. Definition of key term. The researcher gives the definition of the key term in order to help the reader to understand the study. Some key terms are defined as follows: vocabulary, flashcard, and student with special needs. For vocabulary, vocabulary is a list of words, usually in alphabetic order, and with explanations of their meaning. It's less complete than dictionary. Quick, 1991. For flashcard, flashcard is a cardboard consisting of word, a sentence, or a simple picture on it. Komachali and Kodaresa, 2013. Flashcard is considered as a helpful teaching strategy. With flashcard, teacher can drill and present new words. The last, student with special needs. Individual who has different characteristics from other individuals who are considered normal by society in general. Chapter 2, Research Method. This chapter presents following section: research design, research subject and setting, research procedure, and research instrument. For research design, this research applies classroom action research, and this study is intended to improve the vocabulary skill for students with special needs through flashcard. According to Burns 2010, action research consists of 4 major steps. They are planning, action, observation, and reflection. Subject and setting of study. This research conducted at Pelita Kasih Homeschooling Malang and use students with special needs as an object. There is only one class at Pelita Kasih Homeschooling Malang which consists 10 students. Based on the previous observation, the students of Pelita Kasih Homeschooling Malang are difficult to memorize vocabulary. It's because the method and supporting media is still relatively inappropriate. The students of this homeschooling are students with special needs. Of course, they need a special treatment. Research procedure. The research procedure in this study adapted from Arikunto 2010, which include planning, implementing, observing, and reflecting. Preliminary study. In the preliminary study, the researcher observed the classroom activity during the teaching and learning process in English lesson. The researcher also tries to get deeper information from interviewed English teacher and some of the students of Pelita Kasih Homeschooling Malang. Based on the interview, the teaching media use becomes the main problem for the teacher. The teacher tends to teach the student conventionally. Moreover, the material gives in general English material, and the students of Pelita Kasih Homeschooling Malang, which mainly need a special treatment in learning vocabulary, are taught conventionally. The finding is, students have a low vocabulary skill and motivation in learning vocabulary. Teachers' teaching media do not attract the students' interest in learning vocabulary. Planning. A planning is done after identifying and diagnosing problems learning vocabulary during the learner process. The steps of planning phase are presented as follows: socializing the research, instructional strategy, designing lesson plan, instruments, preparing criteria of success, and discussing with collaborator. Implementing. The implementation of the study takes place after all preparation has been done. The implementation will only be conducted in once if the students have been achieved the criteria of success in the first cycle. Observation. In the observation phase, the researcher observes the class and the student condition during the learning process. It focuses on 3 aspects, such as students' interest, student involvement, and classroom situation. Reflection. This reflection is done in the end of the cycle. It's done in order to evaluate the criteria of success or not. The criteria of success are met if the student fulfill 2 categories provided in this study, which include 75% students have achieved the minimum score of 75, and the student involvement during the learning process. The result of reflection is used to determine whether the research can be end or has to be continued to the next cycle. Research instrument. Research instrument. There are 2 research instruments. First, test, and the second is observation. For this test, is to measure the student vocabulary skill before after treatment or action. The research provide a worksheet consists of 20 item multiple choice, and the student should do the best for 40 minutes. And the purpose of this test is to know the student improvement in vocabulary skill after studying using flashcard as a teaching media. For the observation in the study, the English teacher as a collaborator helped the researcher to observe the class and the students' condition during the learning process when the researcher implements the strategy. This space is also used to know the students' response during teaching and learning process. The result of observation will be the supporting data besides the main data. Thank you for watching my video. Do not forget to write down your question in the comments column below. Thank you.